Hello and welcome to video lecture series in political science. Today we are going to discuss chapter 3 titled as US Hegemony in World Politics from your book Contemporary World Politics. As you know that for understanding we have divided this chapter into 4 parts. So far in the first 3 parts we have discussed about the concept of hegemony, hegemony in international relations. We have discussed the US as a hegemon or a hard power and the various military operations it has carried out world over. We also discussed about Operation Iraqi Freedom and we discussed about the structural hegemony of the US. Today, in this part we will discuss about US as a soft power. That is how US is also dominating culturally and ideologically. Towards the end we will discuss that can the US hegemony be ever overcome, and we will also discuss India's relationship with the United States. Apart from being a hard power and a structural hegemon, there is a third dimension to US hegemony also. This dimension is related to soft aspects, which makes US a soft power. Now, unlike military and economic dimensions, the soft aspect is related to ideological and cultural dimensions. What do we mean by this? This means that as a hegemon, the US has capacity to manufacture consent. It means that the US has been a dominant force in shaping social, political, cultural and ideological spheres or ideas world over. There are 2 dimensions of this idea. The first is that the US as a dominant power or as a dominant class has been able to persuade the dominated class or the developing and underdeveloped world to view or follow or adopt such ideas that are favorable to the dominant class, that is the US. Yet another way of understanding the same situation is that the world has accepted the US way of life, the American way of life, their ideas, social norms, pattern, etc. as better than their own, and they have accepted the fact and have also adopted them gradually. They have started following them gradually. The culture of the US has become the reference point and people follow it. So, both the interest of the dominant class and the behavior of the dominated class goes hand in hand, and it favors the rise of the hegemon. In fact, as a hard power, the US has to use force to penetrate, but as a soft power, it penetrates cultures and societies with their consent. And the consent means agreement. Consent is always more effective than the use of force. What I can make you do with agreement, I cannot make you do by using force. Now, not only militarily or economically, the US has become dominant culturally. American culture is the most attractive culture in the world. Their lifestyle, dress patterns, fast food, movies, music, popular culture has become a way of life. An American way of life is the most aspired way of life by many people, most of the people all over the world. No matter we accept it or not, the growing ideas about good life, personal success, aspirations, dream of individuals and societies, our consumption patterns, lifestyles all across the world are emerging from the American way of life. World over, it is fashionable for young generation to follow American culture and be modern or Western. This attribute of the US is called as soft power. It is the power that pulls people like a magnet towards it. Over a period of time, the US culture has dominated our thinking so much that we hardly realize that slowly we are adopting American way of life at the cost of our own cultures. We think it to be very natural that this is part of our own culture, rather than seeing that yes, it comes from another country or from America. This realization has also become a source of conflict in many parts of the world, where people try to preserve their identity, their culture, which is now being changed by the intervention of American culture. But the fact remains true that America is a soft power also. Let us look at this cartoon that shows American dominance in the cultural sphere as well. This cartoon is by Andy Singer. Now, what do you see in this? This is very interesting. It shows that the American life is coming onto another continent. Now, what do you see? Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, all dressed as military men. They are entering another land and the native people are running away, keeping their hands over their head. And the native land is being bombarded by Coca-Cola, Microsoft, McDonald's, MTV. And all these American brands are marching in our lives as army. Now, army here has two meanings. One is the military power of the US and second is the soft power which is coming in terms of idea. And indigenous people are running away because they cannot sustain the attack, both ideological as well as military and structural attack being carried out by the US. Blue colored jeans, which is so popular now, during 1970s was a symbol of liberation. That was the era of the Cold War. During the Cold War, it was difficult for the US to score a victory against the military power of the Soviet Union. But in the sphere of structural power and soft power, the US certainly dominated the Cold War era. For the young generation in the Soviet Union, blue jeans came to represent aspirations of a good life. It became a symbol of liberation that was not there available in their own country, symbol of liberation or freedom. As you can see in this picture, the college students are wearing blue jeans, blue shoes, even the shoes are made up of jeans, and they are saying that we are feeling the blue, that is, they are showing that they are free, they are liberated, the freedom that they were not enjoying under the communist rule. And this is another picture showing bell bottoms. This was very much in fashion during 1970s and early 80s, and a lady is walking with her daughter wearing this jeans. Young people used to buy these jeans in black market, often spending huge amount of money on a single pair of jeans. The US soft power remained dominant. The US was able to engineer or shape a generational divide in the Soviet society on the basis of its cultural products only. The discussion so far shows that America is undoubtedly a hegemony, structurally as a hard power militarily and ideologically or culturally as well. But it does face constraints and challenges. As history has shown, the greatest of empires have decayed from within. Similarly, the biggest constraint on American hegemony is located within the power itself or within the hegemon itself. Although they have appeared at specific period of time and as a response to certain actions of the US, but one can notice these constraints in operation more and more in the last couple of years. What are these constraints on the power of the hegemon? The first constraint is the nature of the institutional architecture or institutional organization of the American state itself. It is a system of division of powers between three branches of government, and these three together act as a significant constraint upon the action taken by the hegemon. The executive puts a brake on the unchecked powers of the administration and exercise of the military power. The second constraint comes from people or citizens and civil society organizations in the state. American system is an open and democratic form of governance. It gives people freedom of expression and speech. Although media tends to promote particular perspectives and forms public opinion that favor American interest, however, there are many instances where one can see that there is a growing skepticism or doubt among people about intentions of the US, its methods, its political cultures and actions and ideologies. This skepticism or criticism has been very acute regarding the military operations carried out by the US in other countries, particularly war in Afghanistan and Iraq have been highly opposed by the Americans themselves. The third constraint comes from the NATO allies. Now, how come NATO allies put a constraint on America? How is it possible that America can be constrained by its own friends? The US has an interest in keeping the NATO alliance alive, because despite the end of Cold War, NATO is an alliance of a free market economies and countries that have democracies. Now, seeing the interest of the US in maintaining the alliance, NATO is the only international organization that can possibly moderate the exercise of American power or hegemony through negotiations and restrictions. Say for example, if US wants to take an action, the other members can back out and they can control or check the use of power by the US. There is yet another significant issue that we can raise, that is there any way to overcome the US hegemony? In the international system, all the nations are sovereign nation states. All the nations are driven by their own set of interest, that is security. International politics is a system without government, and there is no one who can govern the international system or make the rules that everybody else will follow, because all nation states are free to choose their own course of action. But once again we have to remember that power has some constraints on it. There are some rules and norms that restrict behavior of the nation states, otherwise they will collide with one another or they will always fight with one another. These laws can restrict the war, but they cannot prohibit the war. So, in the absence of a supreme government, do we conclude that there is no escape from the US hegemony? One thing is sure, that no single power or even some of the powers together also can challenge or match the superiority of the US, because it is nearly impossible to balance the US militarily, because it is a very massive hard power. It is also true that those powers that can together challenge the US will never come together because of their individual differences, such as Russia, India and China. They together, three of them, can challenge the US, but India and China themselves have so many problems related to borders and sharing of river waters. In such a case, the US will continue to dominate the world militarily, structurally, culturally and ideologically. The question is, how do we accept the dominance or be dominated? Some scholars argue that it is strategic to take advantage of opportunities given to us by the hegemon. For example, economic growth in any nation requires increased trade, development, import of better technology, investment, scientific know-how, etc. To achieve this economic growth, it is better to cooperate with the hegemon rather than work against his powers. Thus, rather than acting against the hegemon and make him our enemy, it is advisable to engage in activities and extract benefits from the alliance and cooperation. It is more useful to operate within the hegemonic system rather than challenge the system and stand isolated. This strategy is also called as bandwagon strategy. Bandwagoning strategy is employed by the weaker states. The logic of bandwagoning states that a weaker state should align itself with the stronger adversary, because the strong can take what it wants by force anyway. So, the weak should always be friendly with the strong. Bandwagoning in international relations occurs when a state aligns with a stronger adversarial power and concedes its power to the stronger adversary, so that the adversary cannot spoil or conquer it alone. To conclude, let us summarize what we discussed in this part of the chapter. In this part, we discussed about the soft aspects of US domination, that is US as a soft power. We took various examples of ideologies, cultural products that are penetrating the life of the people world over, and how American way of life is becoming the dominant and most aspired way of life for people in different regions of the world. We also discussed about what are the various sources of constraint, what can actually check or restrict the power of the US and how it can be controlled, or can US hegemony ever be overcome. In the next part of this chapter, we will discuss about the nature of relationship between India and US. Till then, you can enjoy reading this part of the chapter. Thank you.